our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll all stand.
Thank you for inviting me to give the invocation this evening, but thank you also to all of you as school board members, administrators, teachers, as well as the staff of the district for all the work you do to educate children in our county and serve the future of our county. Let us pray. Almighty God, by your gift alone we come to wisdom and true understanding. Look with favor, we pray, on the Clay County District schools, that knowledge may be increased among us and wholesome learning flourish and abound. Bless those who teach and those who learn, and grant that in humility of heart they may ever look to you, the fountain of all wisdom. Be present with those who take counsel this evening for the administration of this school district. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen. And now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Klukas. That was a beautiful invocation. So at this time, I will call to order the regular meeting of the Clay County School Board for June 30th, 2022. As you can see, Ms. Bola is not with us this evening. She's joining us by phone. Ms. Bola, are you there?
I am certainly here. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. And Mr. Broski is absent as well. Mr. Daly is serving in his stead.
Mr. Broski wanted me to say hello to everyone, but he is at his son's graduation from firefighter school today, and we felt like, you know, that was the appropriate place for a father to be. So that's where he's at.
Absolutely. All right. Welcome, citizens of Clay County. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us this evening. This meeting is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. If you wish to address the board on an agenda item, there will be an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Please fill out a card, which you'll find located in the back of the room, indicating the specific item, number, or topic you wish to speak about, and turn it in promptly. No additional cards will be accepted once the board moves to the public comment section under presentations from the audience. Your participation, as always, is welcomed and appreciated. So tonight we have some recognitions and awards, and first we are going to have our retirees recognized by Ms. Troutman.
Yes, I get to do the fun thing. So good evening. Tonight we recognize and honor a very, very special group of educators and school-related employees. You can see the number on there. There's 126 of them with over 2,779 years of service to the students of our district. There is also a time for great school board members to retire, okay? Everyone who works for us at one point in time retires and leaves us. So each of them have come to that prized moment, and tonight's the time we're going to honor them and thank them for their service to the students of Clay. They each have left footprints on the hearts and minds of not just the students that they served, but those who worked alongside them. So enjoy the presentation where we honor each and every one, and to them, I hope they enjoy their permanent long weekend. So happy retirement to them all.
much, Ms. Troutman. That was a wonderful presentation. So many years of experience and knowledge and wisdom, and we certainly wish them all the best in this next chapter of their lives. So at this time, I'm going to call to the podium Miss Ellis to recognize Synergistic. Oh, Dr. Kemp is coming. Sorry.
So, board members and Deputy Superintendent Mr. Daly, and on behalf of Mr. Broski, I wanted to bring up our partner Synergistic. They're going to do an annual report for you.
Well, sort of. We'll do our annual report later on in the year, probably October, November. But good evening, my name is Roseanne Jolly. Thank you for having us tonight on behalf of Synergistic. I'm also here with your energy specialist, Mark Jolly. We are missing tonight our brand new energy specialist, Leah Patterson, but I look forward to introducing her to you very soon. So the reason that we're here tonight is because back in January of 2016, the school district partnered with Synergistic to reduce their carbon footprint, and they're doing that, and you're doing that by implementing an energy conservation program. So 6.5 years later, thanks to the leadership of the school board, the folks in the district office and operations, and our partners in maintenance, we have worked actively and collaborated with all of you in order to reduce your carbon footprint, and we've done that by audits in the evenings, after hours, nights, weekends, and that has turned into a really successful energy reduction per square foot. It was actually 23%. That reduced carbon footprint, to put it into perspective, is the equivalent of 136 million miles driven, the CO2 that would be generated from an average vehicle driving 136 million miles. So that's pretty impressive. This success was definitely made possible by some folks that never get a phone call to tell them that the HVAC is working great, or to tell them that, hey, there's no leaks on my campus today and all of my toilets are running, like they're supposed to. We don't have water flying everywhere. And so I did want to take a second to recognize some of those folks that support us, including our maintenance director, Clayton Anderson, our building automations coordinator, Buck Bell, supervisor of maintenance, James Johnson, and our lead HVAC tech, Nate Bollinger. Without those individuals and their contributions, the energy program couldn't be as successful as it is. So it is my honor today to present to you this banner, as well as a plaque in recognition of Clay County District Schools conserving our nation's precious resources, and in the implementation of your Synergistic Energy Management Program, and serving as a model of energy stewardship to schools, to school districts around the country. So congratulations, and thank you for all your hard work. Would you mind taking a photo with us and Dr. Kemp? Thank you.
At this time, I'll call Miss Buchanan up to the podium. She's here to recognize Chemours personnel. And I believe she's bringing money.
Yes, good evening. I also get to have fun, Ms. Troutman, so we always like to bring money to the school district, and what a great time of year to do so as we think about next year, and we're already planning, believe it or not, for what exactly is the Ed Foundation going to be doing in the school year to support our teachers and students. So without further ado, Chemours, the folks are standing behind me, Jason, Jody, and Hillary. I've had the pleasure of working with them now for quite a few months, but this has been going on for a couple of years to bring this partnership to fruition. So we got $12,500 that will be matching with the state of Florida's Matching Dollars program for $25,000. And this will enable us to build out the career pathways that we've been doing in STEM education to Lake Asbury and Lakeside. So Lake Asbury Junior, Lakeside Elementary, Lakeside Junior, Lakeside Elementary, right? We'll all be getting the 3 pathways that we've done in all of the other junior high schools and one of their feeder elementary schools. So that's cybersecurity, AI, and drone technology. So we're very, very excited about this partnership, and I think Jason wants to share a couple of words for us before we do our check presentation.
Thank you, Michaela. So we just wanted to share a little bit about why STEM education is important to us at Chemours. And she just mentioned drone technology. We actually use drones at our sites every month to do our month-end surveying and reporting. So I didn't know that was part of your program, but we actually have jobs right here in Clay County and Bradford County flying pretty impressive drones. But at Chemours, we create a more colorful world through the power of our chemistry. And speaking of chemistry, when I was in school, I really hated that class. It was so boring, and I always thought, I'm never going to use this in real life, right? Well, big mistake. I use chemistry every single day in my job at Chemours. Even for the 14 years I spent selling the mineral sands products that we create out of the ground right here in Clay County and Bradford County, I still had to know chemistry and geology to better serve our customers. So I really regretted not paying attention in school. But the world is changing rapidly. Did you know that every 10 seconds, the world's population increases by 15 to 20 people? We are really going to need a lot more scientists, engineers, and mathematicians to help feed and house 8, soon 10 billion people on this planet in a more efficient and better way. So we really encourage students to choose that STEM path to help build a better world for everybody. So thank you.
Well, it will always be exciting to see what Michaela finds next to do for our students here in Clay County.
Thank you.
All right, we have no school showcase tonight. This is the last call for comment cards from the audience. We have one coming. All right, so we will begin with Stephanie Race. Is that correct? Ms. Race, when you come to the microphone, just state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Race. The address is 118 Colombard Court,
Thank you.
Ponte Vedra. Good evening. My name is Stephanie Race, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Florida Library Association. We represent librarians and library professionals from across Florida, and we recently learned that the board will be voting to adopt an emergency measure to implement changes to the Manual of Procedures for Media Services. While we understand that the recent passage of House Bill 1467 requires compliance with the law effective July 1, 2022, we recommend that the board and district administrators include your media specialists, librarians, and library professionals during the revision process. The association's statement on the freedom to read strongly encourages you to utilize the expertise of your library professionals in revising policies and making collection decisions. The American Library Association also offers a selection and reconsideration policy toolkit for public school and academic libraries that we encourage you to use as a resource. As you will undoubtedly discuss tonight during your review of the CCDS Library Procedures Manual, the freedom to read and the right to free speech are activities protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Tonight, you will be navigating the difficult waters of constitutional rights, established library industry standards, new state legislation, and community expectations for the contents of your school media centers and libraries. The Florida Library Association is available to provide you with additional feedback and recommendations, and we encourage you to contact us for additional assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Race. Next, we have Bruce Friedman. Bruce Friedman. Mhm. And Mr. Friedman, again, when you come to the microphone, just make sure you state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Bruce Friedman, Middleburg, address on file. We're on the honor system. You can flag me when it's 3 minutes. No children present. Very good. Good evening, board. Regarding the last speaker's reference to the Library Association, my team, I represent No Left Turn in Education. That's the Florida chapter. I also run the New York chapter. I'm also a member of Moms for Liberty. Some of our members are present. Tonight, I'm going to give a sampling from 3 books that are in our libraries, the Fleming School and the Oakleaf School. And then we can discuss, you can discuss the process by which these books get on the shelves, because there's a Clay County employee that got paid to put this book, Lucky, by Alice Sebold. I'm going to read things. If there's children watching, cover their ears. He began to need
I'm going to
his fist
stop you
against-
right there, sir. I'm going to stop you right there.
Turn the microphone off.
Turn off his microphone, please. I've told you I'm stopping you. The reason I'm stopping you is because these meetings are, if you'll hush your mouth for a minute and listen instead of just talking, you may learn something. Well, the problem is, sir, is these meetings are broadcast. There are people at home that are watching it on YouTube. There are people that are watching it on community television. Are you going to listen or are you going to run your mouth? And you'll get it back, but you'll get it back to talk about something besides reading pornography into a public television set. Well, let me explain something to you. There are federal and state laws that prohibit you from saying the things that you're getting ready to say on television. There are state laws that prohibit, and federal communications laws that prohibit you from publishing these things to a child. You don't have the ability at this point to determine who's watching the television show. And for you to say, everybody cover your ears, just doesn't cut it. If you go to television and you look before anything that comes on that's offensive, they have it graded as R, NC-17, PG, or G, or X. Now, if you put something on the television without that, you are violating state and federal law. Number one. Number two, if you'll hush a minute and listen, you'll learn something. Okay? There are ways for you to have this removed from the library and to have it reviewed. If the policy that's going to probably be passed tonight as a temporary policy has the ability, for you to make an objection in writing. Mr. Daly has been very, very easy to work with these things. And he will have it removed from the shelf while it's being reviewed by a committee. The committee will make a decision as to whether it belongs on the library shelf or whether or not it's obscenity under 847.01, obscenity for minors. Now-
I'm sorry, Mr. Bickner. Mr. Daly wanted to add something since you
Yeah,
referenced
if
him.
I may, I totally I totally understand what you're saying. And, you know, we have 100,000 different copies roughly in our media collections that have been procured over the years. Is it possible in those millions of pages that there are things that are objectionable and under the new law unallowable? Absolutely. I appreciate the time you put into a trifold presentation.
These things.
Yeah,
in front of our children.
right. And
He's
so
forcing you to look at something
that's
that you may
okay.
or
So
not want to
look,
look at.
look, let's
Just throw it away.
Let's, hold on. So I've been pretty deep in the weeds with this stuff. And as a parent of 3 kids, I get where you're coming from, 100%. And so what we're going to look at tonight in terms of the new policy is connected to the new legislation, which allows us to evaluate these things. He referenced Chapter 847. That's existing legislation. That the state comes forward with very specific language about what's allowable and what's not relative to pornographic material. So if those things are brought forward, like this right here, and we evaluate that next to the statutory language, and it's found to violate that, and what you showed me right there clearly would, and that stuff has to be taken out of circulation. Mm-hmm. And that's that's a great question. And it's a tricky one, right? Because when you think about, just for a second, you have all these different communities, you have people of different ages, right? So age appropriateness is part of the new legislative language. And what does that mean? What's appropriate to your children or mine or hers could
I
vary.
understand it's
Right.
subjective.
There's,
Things
yeah,
are
there's a lot
presented
of,
to you or not.
right, there's a lot of subjectivity with it and a lot of passion relative to these things. It's the school district's job to teach children how to think, not what to think. And so a parent's right to weigh in on the things that are relative to their value system is something that now has been put into law.
Do you
So,
have any episodes, any monthly issues of Penthouse or Playboy in any public school library?
not of which I'm aware.
If you did, and it was determined that it should be pulled,
Right.
would you then go back and look at all the other episodes? When an author is pulled, has a text pulled, do you look at all the other efforts by the same author? Is there any mechanism, any accountability anywhere?
In terms of
In
reviewing.
terms of a guilty party put porn in front of our children?
Right. So right now, we're entering previously uncharted waters, right, with the legislation. So none of the 67 districts have had to sort of go through this before. So putting this together, and you see that we brought forward an emergency measure, which is highly unusual. In fact, the only time I'm aware that that's happened before was for COVID. So obviously, it was very, very important to the district. There are no optional statutes. The school district of Clay County will follow all the laws. And so because there is a passion around reading, there's differences, there's subjectivity around values. So we have to navigate through the statute and through the processes in place. And it is a challenge to bring forward procedures. Anytime there's a new policy, there's no perfect policy. So policies typically are amendable. So no policy that's brought forward is going to be chiseled into stone, right? So then we evaluate the efficacy of the policy. Is it working? Is it efficient? Is it meeting the standard? But Clay County District Schools is going to follow the law. If the book that you've brought forward, based on what that quick glimpse I had is in there, that type of book would be inappropriate, wouldn't be allowable.
And
It's-
from my understanding,
I
it's not
reviewed it, I went
allowable
to-
by state statute. It wouldn't even need to go through the process of the objectionable book.
If a book was illegal, like he brought up, if there was a Playboy magazine, would you? No, yeah. So yeah, but then you get into some other areas that are brought forward in the new legislation that where there hasn't been language like a Chapter 847 brought forward yet. I anticipate there will be. At what point, I don't know. that will help to clearly guide the process. So the previous process was in place, wasn't adequate to the task of handling the situation that you've brought forward tonight with your concern.
The previous speaker referenced free speech
Right.
as a grave concern.
Yes.
Pornography is not covered there, especially not with regards to children.
Let me help everyone here, because I know there's several people, and this is weighing on them, and they're coming from different vantage points, is that it first may help to draw a distinction between the public library for people of majority age and minors, and then the school library for people of primarily, overwhelmingly, of minority age, who are being raised in the houses of people who want to raise them within the values of their own family, right? So there is a distinction. So, the First Amendment's kind of the cornerstone of a republic. So no one here is calling for book banning in the public sphere of people of majority age. But when we're talking about in the schoolhouse with people of minority age, people's children, there are books like the one you brought forward that I don't want my sons reading. And so I would agree with you that those types of things are inappropriate.
In
And so-
addition to looking at the publishers that recommended that book through the Librarians Association, and the authors that probably wrote more than one vile text along the same lines, maybe we should look at the Librarians Association that keeps shoveling this stuff in your direction.
So there's manifold issues that you've brought forward. I am well aware and well versed on all of them. And I agree, this requires continued vigilance and scrutiny and conversation among the adults to do what's best for the organization and the community, particularly because children are involved. And so we're going to center our efforts on that, and we'll continue to have conversations. There are multiple people in the audience tonight with whom I've had extended conversations. I always pick up the phone and call back. And so we will continue to have those and arrive at a conclusion that's best for Clay County. There's no one here that's going to push forward that type of material on students. And I promise you that. Not while I hold this
I
office.
thank you and appreciate your time, all of you. Please include me in whatever review process is required. If you need someone to go through your books because they sent you too many and you just
There's a
declined
lot.
to put them on the shelves,
There's a lot. There's a
I'll
lot.
take a few. I'll read them.
Well, look, I
And
appreciate.
so that we're clear, if a book is reported, like if there's a challenge filled out, there's paper, this policy that's on our agenda tonight provides all of that information in one succinct place for anybody who has a concern about any book
That's
in
an
our library.
after-the-fact solution. The book's already been placed in front of a child. I want to cut it off at the pass.
Right.
I understand that.
So,
I
well,
understand.
Thank you all for your time.
Listen, if maybe Mrs. Honora or Mrs. Watt could get your contact information, I will reach out to you next week and we can continue to have the conversation in greater depth. I appreciate your passion, and I appreciate everyone's passion on this. There's great passion from different vantage points. It reminds me a little bit when we were going through the things with masks and all that type of thing. And when kids are involved and especially with your own children involved, you lack objectivity. And thank you so much. But we want to get it right for everybody. And I promise you, we will work hard and we will listen and we will find the best solution for the community. And that will probably be a process with many conversations. And there probably will be no policy that comes forward that makes everybody perfectly happy. But we will listen. Yeah, I 100% agree. Thank you so much.
And
Was
so
I
that-
allowed to do all that with the?
That's fine, Mr.
Okay,
Daly. I
thank you.
appreciate you addressing concerns. And I think what I was trying to say was that as soon as a book is brought to our attention, it is immediately pulled until it's reviewed, correct?
It depends, and we're right now in this moment where we're going from an old policy to a
The
new policy.
The new policy states that the book would be pulled until it's reviewed by
Well,
the district.
it's another tricky part, because how do we determine what violates the statute? In some books there's greater subjectivity, let's say around critical race theory, because that's brought up in the law. There's been no language relative to that has been brought forward. So that would take a lengthier process to go through, a deeper dive, a complete read, to consider the entire thing. Whereas other things have already been ruled upon. And so the statutory language is very clear and you could make a much quicker determination. So there's no cookie cutter approach that I think is going to be appropriate because of the such almost infinite range of literature that's out there.
But Mr. Daly, I think the understanding is if a parent fills out the form for an appeal,
Mhm.
while we're doing that process, that book is removed.
Correct. Yeah, that's what the policy
In the
says.
previous policy, that was not the case.
Right.
But as of tomorrow, with the new policy, that will be in
If that
place.
policy is approved, that is my
Yes.
understanding,
Yes,
yes.
it will
Okay.
be removed while the committee evaluates it.
Correct.
Is there anything else, Mr. Bickner, you needed to add about this policy?
There have been some concerns raised by people, like, for instance, the woman who spoke a few minutes ago had a concern about whether or not they were going to include media specialists. There are concerns about whether or not it's going to be media specialists that will be mandatory in media reviews. There will be, but that means we're going to have to, between now and 90 days from now, when this thing that will be passed tonight, the policy, the publication, it dies in 90 days. And in that meantime, we have to create either the proper vehicle to do what we want to do and then go through the advertising process under 120, or we have to simply go through the advertising process and the public hearing process under 120 for the existing policy. But from what I hear from Mrs. Race, I believe her name was, and some others, there are things that need to be changed, need to be added. One is whether or not media special will be involved, and they will be. That's an important thing. The second is whether or not, if you're going to take a book out of circulation or declare it to be unfit, under the statute, you have to look at the whole book. And so one of the questions, three of the questions actually that came to me is somebody going to read the whole book before you make a decision on whether to take it out? And under federal constitutional law and Florida Statute 84701, it's the book taken as a whole. So we'll have to add that in, that someone has to actually review the book. And it can't be after the decision's made, it has to be before. And so that's not a difficult thing for most of these books. They're quick reads, but somebody's going to have to do it. Now, so that's another addition. There are some other things that have been brought up and handed to me in the last 30 or 45 minutes that we'll look at for the instructional and media, and it may be that we'll need to sit down and add those things in as well. So whatever input I get will be evaluated and put back into the media publication and the instructional review publication. And then whatever else is decided upon by the superintendent and the publisher of the manual. So there is more to do.
So going.
This is a stopgap measure to get us in compliance with the requirements of a statute, which is House Bill 1467, now. There are more things that need to be added and more things that will be added. But there's a way to get it done, and there's a way not to get it done. That's all I'm trying to get people to understand. And I think that Mr. Daly's expressed it very well. He and I are both of the opinion that we can work almost everything out. I've never found a problem I can't solve, and I'm way beyond 50. So.
All right, thank you both for your comments. Thank you, Mr. Friedman. And our next speaker is Ruth Bannon. Again, when you come to the microphone, please state your name and your address for the record.
Hello, I haven't done this before, so thank you for listening to me.
Ms.
And,
Bannon, if I could ask you, just pull that microphone to your mouth so we can hear you
Okay.
better.
Is
Thank
that better?
you. That's much
Okay.
better. Thank you.
And I too am a concerned
Oh,
citizen.
did you state your name and address for the record? I'm
It's
sorry.
Ruth Bannon. I'm from Middleburg, and
I need your street address.
and what?
Your street address. It is on the card. Okay, we're good. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. I just recently found out that there are books in the school libraries that are inappropriate, and that concerns me a lot. I'm a grandmother, and I have one here. It's called Tricks by Ellen Hopkins. It's for young adults. This is in Fleming Island, Middleburg, Oakleaf, Orange Park, and Ridgeview. I'm going to read the summary of it because it's so gross and so filthy. You'll stop me in 5 words. So I'm not, you want me to read it?
Why,
We would
why
pr-
read
if
it
it's
if it's going, if I'm going to
explicit-
stop you because it's so vulgar that you're publishing on a TV what shouldn't be on TV?
Okay.
Why
well,
read it? Just leave it alone. Just submit the name and someone will take a look at it closely.
Okay, well, the summary is, first of all, because there's so many things in here, it concerns numerous sexual explicit excerpts involving minors. There are also excerpts containing explicit child rape and abuse, illegal drug use, violence, underage alcohol consumption, and prostitution of adults and minors. Okay, my hand, this is on page 105. My
I'm
hand
going to stop you
decides-
again. If you start reading vulgarity, I will shut the mic off. I'll have it shut off. You can't do that. That's the end of it. You can't do it.
Why?
Because it's a violation of state and federal law for you to publish something that goes out onto TV.
You know what's interesting? This is in the library that you're allowing kids to check out, but I
nobody
cannot
is
say it
forcing
in
a
here.
child at home to
That's
listen
my
to
whole
it.
point, is to point out this shouldn't even be in the library.
Then
How does
submit
this?
it.
How does this improve anybody's character, ability to get a scholarship? You're in this book, in my opinion, they are saying they are going to read about rape, lap dancing, stripping, and these are high school girls and kids.
Okay?
So they're going to read that and think it's okay because they got it out of the school library.
I didn't say that. I said submit your objection and let it be handled in the process. For you to stand here and read vulgarities into the microphone for the people at home to be listening to is not going to change anything. Submitting the publication, the name and all of the information will.
Okay. Have you
That's
ever
what
read
I'm
any of these
suggesting.
yourself? Have you ever read any of these yourself?
Anytime someone points one out and says what a vulgar book it is, generally I'll try and pick up a copy and look at it.
See,
Okay,
Now, have I read that? No.
Mr. Bickner, thank you
But
for.
I'm telling you what needs to be done.
From now on, I think we need to let our speaker finish their 3 minutes. I will ask that we keep it PG in the boardroom. We do have children, my children are watching this meeting at home, so I would appreciate it personally. As a personal favor, please just don't read vulgarity.
I don't want to.
I know you don't. I don't either. It's
I-
upsetting.
yeah.
And I'm floored that that's in our libraries. And
Yeah.
like Mr. Bickner said, there's a process for getting it off of our shelves, and we need to act
Okay.
quickly.
Ma-
I agree
Madam
with you.
Chair,
So,
May I?
yes,
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Bickner. Yep.
I'm interjecting again,
Yep.
and I'm just the substitute superintendent. I feel like the substitute teacher, all she had to do was push play, and now she's teaching math, so forgive me, I'm an overachiever. You're absolutely right. And these things have come across my desk, and if you'd told me a year and a half ago that type of thing was there, I would have said, there's no way that that's in the school system. But some of those things have been brought to my attention from some of the folks in the room. Each time those have been brought forward, we've addressed it promptly, swiftly, and decisively. And so we will follow the law. I said that earlier. And if there are things that are in place that violate the statute, and violate the law, things like that you're addressing right here, and I know they're there, we will take them out.
Okay.
So, and I ask that we work together on this because it's, and you might, and I think Mr. Friedman was referencing this earlier. How did these things come to be? And I've learned a lot more about library media services in the last 6 months than I ever bargained on. And part of that, it's a tough job being a library media specialist. And because how can you review and read every single book when you're serving thousands of children, especially at a high school? So you're trusting publishers, you're trusting reviews, and you're trusting reputable outlets to give you things, and hoping that their advice and that their value system aligns with what is appropriate here. And this whole age appropriateness phrase is a tricky one. I think I pointed that out earlier. And so I've seen cases where I asked the librarian, I said, how did this book get here? Well, Mr. Daly, here's the review from the publisher. Oh, it's a great coming of age story, blah, 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 perfectly appropriate for 14 years old. And well, no. And so that's where I said earlier, that's the tricky part, is that how do you deal with that? And I don't know the exact and complete answer to that yet, other than that we have to be more vigilant now than we were before and learn from each other. And And as someone told me yesterday, is that, and when we know better, we'll do better. And so it's a process that we'll go through as a community together. But this is not a community that's trying to onboard these things knowingly. I promise you that.
No.
And as a father of 3 children in this school system, I promise you that. So if you will, bring those things to us, and as Mr. Bickner said, follow the process, we will review them as swiftly as we can and fairly. I will say this, the state had brought forward, hey, we need you to do these types of things. And guess what? They didn't give us any money for it. We don't get any extra allocations. And so people that will serve on these committees are people like myself who actually are being paid to do other things. And we'll have to come over here and help in this area. And so we're trying to make the process, imperfect as it is, as efficient and thorough as possible without detracting from other things we're doing to help kids on a day-to-day basis. But we hear your concern 100%, share it, and I promise you we will address it.
Nobody here disagrees with you.
Well, I'm glad I came up and said this, because when voices are heard and things are pointed out, hopefully things get done, things are made aware of, and dealt with. So
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. The
Thank you so
idea is
much.
for us to work together.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
And again, unless it's brought to our attention, we don't know to address it. So we appreciate that. We really do.
When we become school board members and we get sworn in, we do not get handed a list of all the books that are in Clay County schools.
Or read them all.
No. So,
Okay.
but as soon as we are made aware of something that should not be on a child's library shelf,
Yeah.
believe me, we will quickly address it.
If you want this copy to read,
No, I don't.
You can bring
I'll
it,
know the
you can bring
author.
it to
I
me.
you want it?
Yeah, I've got a collection.
Okay.
All right, our next speaker, is it Julia Mason? Is that correct? And again, when you come to the microphone, if you'll state your name and address. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Julia Mason, and the address is on file. I'm in
Okay.
Fleming Island. Okay, so I happen to be in the book business from age 12. My mother was worked selling door-to-door World Book Encyclopedia, and then started her own company called Ileana Educational Products. Every school in this county, I did a partial collection on opening day. I created Oakleaf's entire collection myself with our team up at Ileana. We represented over 100 publishers, school and library, and then mainstream publishers. I worked in this system from 2001 to 2017. Currently, I am an author of an inspirational children's book with traditional family values, which I'm very proud of, and it won the Mom's Choice Award. However, when I worked in the industry, and I would bring the books to the librarian, they would comb those books. I am telling you, comb them. At the middle school level, if they opened a mythology book and there was a naked statue, they would say, oh my gosh. And they would notice things that I didn't, and I'm very meticulous. I read every book. I reviewed, because we would go to a meeting where the publishers would come to the sales meeting. We'd go through every single book and the product line, the content, the age, the grade level, age level, what's appropriate, what's not. They would look at that book, they'd see that naked thing, they would tell me, I can't put this on a shelf at a junior high, because they're gonna sit at the lunchroom and they're gonna start talking about this, and the other kids are over here. That's how it flows. Mm-hmm. And then I would call the publisher and say, what were you thinking putting this in a middle school book, okay? So the process is big, and it's vast. It's not just one person, but even at the high school level, and I represented a company out of New York, Kensington Publishing, and they publish aspirational, inspirational books for, African American and Hispanic, and with real life issues in them. And it really helped the children read. It really did. Got kids reading, at level. But sometimes they would read the books. The librarians read the books back in the day when I was a vendor. I can promise you that. And in when I created the oak leaf collection, I literally combed everything. We have, standards, and we can put, okay, these people, we're going to do, let's say, aerospace, and we have to have this, this, and this, right? But the rest of them, I read the reviews, I'm looking at the ratings, and that really needs to be brought back. And I'm telling you, I'm here to say it's not that hard. It's really not. And it can be maintained with a communal effort, but absolutely, the media specialists, they did that. And so I'm just not understanding where that
Where the
sort
breakdown
of
is.
shifted, and because that's what I understood. I watched them do it.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, our next speaker is Nikki Celso.
Good afternoon. My name is Nikki Celso. My address is on file. Today, I am here because I was asked by Moms for Liberty to read the book Push by Safari. Don't worry, I'm not going to read anything that is not acceptable on TV. This book, as of yesterday, is still found in the Clay High Library. I can give you the barcode if you would like. Now, I'm going to read the summary, which is allowed on TV. Precious Jones, an illiterate 16-year-old, has up until now been invisible to the father who rapes her and the mother who batters her, and to the authorities who dismiss her, as just one more of those Harlem casualties. Now, please read on your handouts. I did hand you a book review, had them handed out. I would like you to look at page 9 and read that. I would like you to look at page 15 and read that. I would like you to look at page 33 and read that. As you're reading that, we all know that we now have a state constitution with a statute 847. Sections 3, Section 5, and Section 6 all are part of this book. It violates that. It's child pornography. It's depicting a minor having sex with an adult. It says it on the back. Your librarian should be able to read the back of the books. This book should have never made it on the shelves. In page 2, this book goes into detail. Page 2. I read the whole book. It was sick, disgusting. Now, you guys have already had 2 books removed. You've had Genderqueer and A Court of Mist and Fury. As a school board and a superintendent, you should know there's more books. It's violating a constitution that we already have on the books. There is a website called Destiny that you could look up and find the books and easily look at your libraries. It's not that hard. What I'm asking is why nobody has stepped up to the plate to have this stuff removed. I'm getting excuses. I'm getting, oh, we have to come up with new laws. We don't. We have a law. These books are like that. They're disgusting. I wouldn't read them. I'm glad my children are no longer in school. I know you guys are doing the best you can, but when you admit to the public that CRT, pornography, does not exist in our school, and you've had 2 books removed, that's like lying to the public. We have a problem. We're not sure how, but let's come up with a solution. Solution. You used to have a group of volunteers that used to read these books. It was a committee that was trained. What happened to them? Where'd they go? Why are they not in our schools?
Thank you so much. We appreciate your comments and appreciate your partnership. Our last speaker is Julie Miller.
Hi, good evening. My name is Julie Miller. My address is on file, and I am a high school librarian. I know, we're kind of seen as the bad guy. So I just wanted to give you guys just a moment of hearing straight from one of us who are boots on the ground to let you know, like, a little bit about us and kind of give a face to to what's going on. First, want to let you know that I am a Baptist minister's wife and daughter of a minister as well. So I've been raised in the church since I was in the womb, and I still lead worship every Sunday at my church. And so my faith is very important to me. Along with that, I have been a media specialist in this county for 8 years now at the high school level. Before that, I was a classroom teacher. And it is very disheartening to be painted as a villain. And I'm not here to try to give you a sob story, but I just want to let you know that it's very difficult to see things on the news, to hear things at school board meetings that make it sound like calling us names. I'm not going to even say some of the things that we're hearing about educators and about librarians, but it's really difficult because that's not who I am. I'm a mother of 2 sweet little boys. We love to go to Legoland. I love to read to them. Their favorites are Pete the Cat and the Pigeon. Personally, I read a lot of young adult literature. It's kind of a passion of mine to be really seeing what's out there and reading what the kids are interested in. I have read, earlier you mentioned The Court of Mist and Fury. And then I believe, sir, you had The Court of Silver Flames on your board, yes? So to give you context for that series, there is kind of a new movement in publishing which has been kind of difficult for librarians to navigate. And this is called New Adult. So have you heard of it? Yeah, it's really not cool because it's very confusing. So what happens is young adult, juvenile, these have all been categories of books, and then you have adult publishing. Well, they decided that this little group of people like ages 19 to 25, that they wanted to come up with a new category called new adult, but the covers and a lot of the storylines very much appeal to young adults, to teens, and they look like young adult books. In fact, that particular series starts out with it's a 5-book series. The first book is firmly a young adult book, and then as they get through, they do become more adult. And I did not even realize that until a few months ago. I have read the first book in the series, but fantasy is not really my thing, so a lot of times after I read the first one, I can't tell you the last time I read a sequel, you guys. But basically, I was unaware until it was brought to my attention by another librarian from outside of our county that these books actually veer very heavily into adult romance. And so, but she said by the 3rd book. So what do? I go back to my library where I had the 3rd, 4th, and 5th books. And I start looking through and I'm like, ooh, no, this is not good. So I made the professional decision to deselect those books from my collection at that point. Because as Maya Angelou says, do the best you can with what you know, and then when you know better, do better. It was not until the video came up recently that I think we've all seen or heard about with passages from the 2nd book, Court of Mist and Fury. As soon as I was made aware that, oh, it's in the 2nd book too, I was like, oh no, that's terrible. We need to, this one's got to go too. So I just want you to understand, those of you who are advocating for removing books and that sort of thing, I want you to understand that we are not bad people. We are trustworthy. We, like Mr. Daly said, we can't possibly read every book. We can't possibly comb through every page. We do spend lots and lots of time going through reviews ahead of time, reading from multiple publications, professional review sources to vet things before we purchase them. And then when they come to us, I'm looking through. I'm not like looking through with a fine-tooth comb, and I certainly can't read them all. I buy hundreds of books a year, and I'm not talking Pete the Cat. I'm talking 300, 400-page books. So I just want to let you know, I thank Mr. Daly so very much from the bottom of my heart for being someone who is listening, who is willing to work with everyone, we are all in this for the best interest of our students. I love my students so much more than I love any books. My bottom line is not to protect the books and make sure every book stays on the shelf. My bottom line is to protect our students. With that, I do want to protect the books that mean something to them, the books that are going to spark an interest and make them a lifelong reader. I want to make sure that the books that are reflections of who they are, whether it's, you've heard the phrase about books can be mirrors where they can see themselves reflected, or they can be doors or windows where they can step into someone else's shoes. Empathy is so important, and reading is one of the best ways to gain empathy. So I thank you all. I know it's been a really difficult year for everyone. Everything has been very politicized, and that is very difficult. I thank you so much, especially for letting me go over the time. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to our consent agenda. We had an item, C5, on the personnel consent agenda was found to contain a Scrivener's error in the requirements of the administrative job description for coordinator of workforce development. The word 6 has been revised to correctly reflect 5 relative to the experience years requirement. All right, so I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I so move.
I move approval.
I'm going to take a motion from Ms. Bullock. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Ms. Karakis.
Does the motion have to be with the correction?
Mr. Bickner, do we need the motion to state that we
With the
are moving for
correction.
approval of the consent agenda with the correction?
That would be preferable, yeah.
Okay,
I move approval with the correction.
And I'll second.
so we have a motion from Ms. Bullock and a second from Ms. Karakis. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Give everybody a second to vote here.
Oh my gosh, hold on. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Oh, it's not working for me.
Yeah, mine's not coming up either. We'll give it just a second.
Okay.
All right, there we go. Everybody have it?
Very good.
Okay. All right, next on our agenda, we have our CCEA update from Ms. Kidwell.
It feels really like I'm very close to you today. This has been a rough time, telling you. I feel so much for our librarians, for our teachers, and I'm the dreaded union president, I think vilified most of all, the union. We all want the same things. We all want the same things. We are here for kids, and I don't understand how it got to be where we're so mistrusted. This is our life's passion, to serve kids and to make a difference in their lives. That's why we dedicate our careers, work summers, and do all the things that we do. And I think that if we somehow could stop judging and prejudging people and realize we all want the same thing and start collaborating and working through these processes for the challenges that are before us, we'd waste a lot less energy and accomplish a lot more, because we're not enemies. We're not. I'm the union president, and you know what I do? I listen to the teachers and I amplify their voice. That's it. That's what I do. And the teachers are the experts that are the professionals that went to school to learn how to reach kids, how to teach kids, and how to make a difference in their lives. They are the experts in the classroom, and they know integrally what's going on with their kids and what their kids' needs are. So when they reach out to me in this giant school board that grows and grows and grows, I know that the school board in many ways wants to listen, but it's too many. We have so many employees and so many students now. We're going to continue to grow. We have to have advocates for our teachers, and that's what the teachers union is, an advocate for teachers and students, because teachers know what's best. We are an A-rated district. Why do people move to Clay County? Because the schools are great. Why are we great? Because we have great teachers who care about kids, parents who care about kids. Parents come here, and most parents love their teachers. Most parents do. But yet we have some voices out there that are prejudging that teachers are out to, I don't know, indoctrinate kids. That is not what we're trying to do. We're trying to teach them. We're trying to make a difference in their lives. And when I was a teacher for 20 plus years before I took on this position, I knew that attitude meant everything. Attitude means everything. You have to be ready to collaborate. You have to be ready to compromise. You have to have an open mind to learn new things that will help every child. And that's how you make a difference. And that's how we have to do it as a community. It takes parents, it takes teachers, it takes the district, it takes specialists, it takes librarians, it takes all of us working together, not fighting each other. We want the same things. We are not your enemy. And anybody who tells you different has never had a conversation with us. So my hope is that we're all going to develop some collaboration, some patience for working together through these new processes that we have to navigate with the new law, and understand that we all want what's best for kids. That's what we want, what's best for kids. So I don't know about y'all, but I don't have a lot of energy to waste on just vilifying people. It's not going to get us where we need to be. So I hope we can work together. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Kidwell. Our next update is from CESPA. I don't see Mr. Roberts in the audience. Ms. Kidwell, do you? Okay. We don't have a superintendent's update unless you had something to add, Mr. Daly.
Slides? You don't have 100 slides for us?
All right, so with that, we will move on to our discussion agenda. The first item, D1, is to adopt the superintendent's memorandum in support of declaration of emergency and approve the emergency adoption and implementation of amendments to the Manual of Procedures for Media Services and the Handbook of Instructional Materials Procedures as contained in School Board Policies 4.44C and 4.45F, respectively. Mr. Bickner,
I
do you
move
need to add?
approval.
Okay. Ms. Bola moves approval. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And Ms. Carrickas seconds it. Mr. Bickner, is there anything that we need to clarify about that before we proceed?
No,
Okay.
we're good.
Any discussion?
I assume all of this emulates the legislation, basically.
Correct.
So, and we can amend like you were discussing before. We need to.
It does follow the legislation. Every single thing I've done follows the legislation as precisely as I can. The problem is that nobody knows what the legislation means entirely.
Right.
And I can point that out because I attended 2 hearings with the DOE yesterday. by Zoom and watch them try to discuss the rules that they're passing to implement some of this stuff. And when you ask them what it means, they say, we'll have to get back to you. So, number two, 1557, nobody knows exactly what it means because there's no definitions. 2 days ago, in a lawsuit in Leon County, where one group is suing the governor, the DOE, and some other people, a motion to dismiss filed by the governor's office and the DOE defined some of the terms that are not defined in the statute. They said what it meant. It took 68 pages to explain 2 paragraphs. So it's an unfolding process, but what I have drafted exactly follows what the statutes say.
I just wanted to be clear about that, so everybody understands.
And also, so we're clear, the purpose of the emergency is to meet the requirement of the law that we have a policy by July 1st. And when we adopt a policy in a state of emergency, it's only good for 90 days. So, and we can revisit it at any point beyond that 90 days as well. The board controls policy. So if there's a need to readdress it at any point, we can. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Bola, did you have anything? Did you have something you wanted to add, Ms. Bola?
I just wanted to add 2 quick things. One is that reiteration of what you just said, this is an emergency position. We have the opportunity to change this policy, as Mr. Bickner mentioned earlier. We're going to learn more about it as we progress and as we proceed. So that is why I'm very much in favor of starting this to meet the needs of our legislation. Number 2, a huge thank you to Ms. Miller, Mr. Daly, and Ms. Kidwell for their comments, because truly, we are all in this together, and we are doing what we can for the benefit of our children. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bola. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Give everybody a second to vote. All right, item D2, approval to advertise and notice of public hearing to approve amendment to School Board Manual of Procedures for Media Services and the Handbook of Instructional Materials Procedures as contained in School Board Policies 4.44C and 4.45F. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Ms. Karakis moves approval,
I'll second it.
and Ms. Clark seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item D3, adopt the superintendent's memorandum in support of declaration of emergency and approve the emergency adoption and implementation of School Board Policy Human Resources Policy 2.02, application and recruitment, to add 2.02E, unlawful employment and practices, and the creation of School Board Policy 4.66, prohibition against discrimination, required instruction. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Ms. Karakis moves approval.
I'll second it.
Second.
Ms. Bullock seconded. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item D4, approval to advertise and notice of public hearing to approve amendment to School Board Human Resources Policy 2.02, application and recruitment, to add 2.02E, unlawful employment practices, and the creation of School Board Policy 4.66, prohibition against discrimination, required instruction. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Ms. Clark moves approval, Ms. Karakis seconds. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. D5, adopt the superintendent's memorandum in support of declaration of emergency and approve the emergency adoption and implementation of School Board Policy 1.15, parental rights and student welfare. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Ms. Karakis moves approval, And Ms. Clark seconds. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, item D6. Approval to advertise and notice of public hearing to approve the creation and implementation of School Board Policy 1.15, Parental Rights and Student Welfare. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Ms. Karakis moves approval.
I second.
Ms. Bullock seconds. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And we have no HR special action A or B tonight. So we will move on to the school board attorney's remarks. Mr. Bickner?
I have none, thank you.
Short and sweet. School board member remarks. Any volunteers? Ms. Bulla, let's start with you since you're on the phone. You never get to go first. You're the chair.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to all of those who have retired this year and putting in 2,000 plus years of service. Amazing. It's just truly a passion to teach, and it truly is a calling to teach. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of those who have served our community in the Clay County School District to help us throughout the many, many years of their service and their wonderful attitudes, no doubt. I am so happy for them, and I hope they truly enjoy their retirement. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Bulla. Ms. Bullock?
Sure, I can do that. First of all, I'd like to thank all the speakers tonight. And, Julie, I think you're at Ridgeview High School, is that correct? And that's where my granddaughter just graduated from. And, we certainly don't want to have books on our shelves that are inappropriate for any age students. But let's keep in mind there are thousands of wonderful books on the shelves. One of the teachers that retired tonight was one of the people responsible for teaching my son how to read. What a gift, But again, I want him to read things that are good. Even as an adult, I do. But I appreciate all of our speakers because I know it's difficult, but we're not perfect, and we will work to be better, just like Miss Miller said. So thank you. And also our retirees. My gosh, I thought as I watched Clay High, I thought Miss Halter's got a big job ahead of her. There were a lot of Clay High teachers that retired. I guess they were all of that age. So congratulations to all those. I do want to give a shout out to a former Keystone Heights High School graduate, long time ago. Sherry Anthony was named the Florida High School Activities Association National Coach of the Year, and she's a former Keystone Heights student. And I also want to thank the Operations Department for doing the presentation at our Lake Area Prosperity meeting about the improvements that are being made at Keystone Heights Elementary School and throughout our county, all of the wonderful facilities improvements that are so long overdue and we're so grateful for. But anyway, and I hope everyone has a great summer. And again, thank you to everybody who came tonight. Thank you.
Ms. Karakis?
I also want to say congratulations to our retirees, and we are losing some great employees. And 2,779 years collaboratively is just amazing. And wish them all a happy retirement and lots of wonderful days of doing nothing and reading some books. And also thank you to our speakers. We tell our kids, if you see something, say something. And lots of things are brought to our attention that shouldn't be going on in our schools because students say something. So, for the parents out there and students that see any books that they feel are inappropriate and need to be processed through the appeals, Mr. Daly, we should have your email up on the board there. Email Mr. Daly. No, but seriously, send it in to let us know because we can't address it if we don't know there's a problem. So please, let's really, truly all work collaboratively together, parents, teachers, administrators, school board members, because we really do want what's best for children. None of us want any books in the media centers that are inappropriate for our kids. We all truly care about our children and our students here in Clay County. All our kids have gone through the school district. I had 3 that graduated from right here and were avid readers. And so we ask that everybody just work together. So thank you and wish everybody a safe and happy summer.
Thank you, Ms. Kierkegaard. Ms. Clark?
I just wanted to ask Ms. Troutman, do we have any bus drivers left?
I know, there were so many that retired.
Okay, because we lost a lot.
Does anybody drive out there?
Yeah. I really want to commend Roger Daly. He's been working with us since last fall when we discovered the very first book. And this is something that every county is dealing with. And thank goodness we have organizations like Florida Citizens Alliance that's been doing this a long time. And in fact, they have given us the most up-to-date list of all the books, and Mr. Daly has it. So it's not like we don't know about this. Unfortunately, it's there. And we're not denying any parent the fact that we know it's there. So this is summer. I hope that we're not vilifying any teacher. I haven't heard that. If it is, that's horrible. That's not what we're doing. We're all in this together. We don't need shock and awe. We need to work together as a team and get this done, because we know that this is not helping. So the point is, we live in a county that has an open door policy, thanks to Mr. Daly and the other administrators. A lot of counties don't. If you came before in some close by counties, they wouldn't even talk to you. So we're very fortunate that this administration has been willing to work with us. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. I don't have a whole lot to add to that. I feel like we took some pretty immediate action tonight and in the past months to correct those excerpts. There's no objection to that. That is inappropriate material for any child. And so I also will echo what you said and appreciate the collaboration between the district and the parents out there who have brought these books to our attention. And I did have a question, Mr. Daly. Do board members have access to Destiny? I looked for it today on my dashboard and I couldn't.
I don't know. That would be like an IT question, but certainly you could. I think the public can access Destiny. Mrs. Miller shaking her head vigorously.
She's shaking her head, yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes, you do.
Awesome. For some reason, it wasn't working on my platform. It might have been the device I was trying to pull it up on. But I think it's important that we all as a community are vigilant about what's in front of our kids. And, you know, I echo what Ms. Clark said. I can't imagine a teacher in Clay County that would read that book aloud to a classroom of students. You know, I think that we all share the opinion that we need to work together to make it right. And I love what you said tonight about how when you know better, you do better. So thank you all for your collaboration and your input. I hope that we can come to an agreement and work together on this project. And with that, I will adjourn our board meeting.
Happy Independence Day for our great